I'm no longer going to have the smallest base in Bodum because I'm going to make the biggest mega base ever. Let's get building. Well, this is definitely coming along, and this is such a big build, and this is only part of it. Oh my goodness, this is literally just the front wall of this build. We worked on this outer wall for hours upon hours. It took a long time, and also this courtyard area in front of the factory is coming together. It is looking fantastic. In fact, I have to get some of these boxes out of here because they're kind of in the way. Sorry if anybody else is looking for copper. I really need this all. And now I finally have enough copper to build this. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got ourselves, I guess a copper bow tie looking thing of sorts. But we have gone vertical with the factory, and it's going to go even further up in other parts, but this left side is now done. This whole building from bottom to top, at least exterior, front exterior, I should say. There's a little bit in the back not done, but we will get there. This is done, and I don't even know what we call these things. There could be like smoke towers, but there's no smoke coming out. They're just cool looking. I really like it. It's starting to give the factory vibe finally. And how cool does that look? Amazing. Details to add, but we've got most of the main buildings in now, at least the front ones. There is going to be more towards the back when all is said and done, but I wanted to get this far along today because I have been so disorganized lately with all my materials that my little storage room underneath my starter base, it's not cutting it. It is not going to be big enough. And I wanted to build this building, which, oh, we got a mob farm. Holy cow. Still needs to be done. It looks pretty funky from the backside, I have to say. You know, that's just what we do here on Hermitcraft. We leave the back for last, you know. It's all smoke and mirrors. It'll get done. It'll get done. Don't worry. But there's so much more to do on this build. But from the front, what a view this is. Oh my gosh.
Should be good to just get us straight into it. So how about we just get building? It's going nighttime. I'm gonna go sleep and start building them out, and I'll bring you guys back in when we're done, quote unquote. I don't know. Let's just build them out. Let's see how far we get. Let's go. Let's do it right now. Boy, that mountain took me a mountain of a time to build. About 2 days and maybe 15 plus hours-ish later, we have ourselves a pretty large mountain, to be honest. And yes, I did the back. Growlers? I'm shocked. The castle's done.
It's
Again,
done.
for the
We
second
did it.
time. I think it's time to cue the time lapse. Okay, so I know it's all stone, and also apparently really covered in snow right now. Hold on, guys. Let me just fix that for one moment. Ah, that's better. No snow. I do know I have to string this up eventually, but I'm going to get most of the buildings in first before doing all the string. So it will happen, but for now, we'll just have to roll with digging the snow off manually. So like I said before as well, I do indeed know it is all stone, and it's not usually something I would show you guys. But for something like this, I think I want to give you guys a really good sense of the direction that I'm heading in without you having to wait weeks and weeks to see, you know, kind of where I'm going with it. Okay, guys, and I'll bring you all back in after.
With that, my friends, let's hit super fast build mode. Now we are going to be jumping back into super fast build mode as I've interrupted this time lapse for a quick building lesson and something I talked about on stream that you've all wanted to hear a little bit more about. And as you can see, the structure of the caravan wagon is done and it looks nice. It's got an interesting roof and shapes and it's on a wagon with wheels, which is kind of funny, but that's where it falls flat from there. There's no personality. It really doesn't feel as if someone even lives there. And that is what I want to tell you guys about changing in your own builds. And hopefully you can learn a little tip from this is you've got to add the human element, which brings the personality of a build out. So think about going to your friend's house versus maybe your
grandma or something like that. Think about a swagon transformed into a factory. It is going to be really, really cool. So I've got the materials all together. So my friends, let's jump into super fast build mode and build ourselves another swag. I have had a few incidents with a zombie that has stolen. Oh, I see a little pixel there. He has stolen all my. This is my life right here. This is my life now in Hermitcraft. I'm constantly dying and having mobs steal my things. Especially try to add personality and details to it to try to bring it to life. And hopefully we did that. You're the final judge of it, but I definitely tried. And you know, with the emeralds on the back and the cargo containers in the front, and once we get that interior rolling, this thing is going to be absolutely amazing. So hopefully it inspired you. What's so fun about each of these wagons is they have their own unique backstory on how they ended up on this caravan. This particular wagon is an old abandoned factory that got put on a chassis and brought with the tycoon in the caravan. And I'm still developing more and more of the backstory, but that is just the start of it that I've gotten today while I was gathering up the resources. But it's going to be very much an abandoned looking factory with a lot of mishmash shapes and buildings, which I think will give it so much character. But I am going to need your help when it comes to the redstoning, as I would love to have a smelter and a cactus farm because I can't seem to get enough cactus this season. But for the designs of those, and of course the rest of the things that we want to put inside, I need your help. So in the comments, redstone help with Scar. Give me some ideas on what we should build in the interior and some good redstone designs for the smelter and the cactus farm. But with that, my friends, let's jump into super fast build mode and complete our final wagon here in the starter base. So let's hit it. Where do I want to build is the question. Impulse's amazing factory, Mumbo's comfy armchair, Grian alleyway with his beautiful buildings, or Pearl's mega mountain and structure here. Where would you build? Where I'm going to build is going to be right in between Pearl and Grian in this area. We are going to be building a massive mountain reaching to the sky with a cloud city surrounding it. It is going to be absolutely amazing. But to make this a reality, we're going to have to do a bit of time-lapsing as we gather some stone. And I don't mean just a little stone. I mean a whole lot of stone.
So with that, I should probably tell you guys the plan. I want to chop out a massive section of land just over here. And I want to like almost lift it out of the ground and have it floating above the ground. Although less floating and more sort of flying. And because I can't actually fly myself, I don't have any wings. Well, I do, but no fly club. I'm going to need some help with that. So let's bring in my... But yeah, there is my friend in the sky looking wonderful. Oh my goodness, the wings look way better than I thought they would. It's about to get dark, but we can get a pretty good look at him up in there in the sky.
But actually, as it happens, pain and frustration, although initially was felt, actually dissipated quite quickly. You know, I really fell into the rhythm things and really begun to enjoy myself. You know, at the end of the day, this is just placing a whole bunch of stone and doing it in a fashion that is reminiscent of actual landscapes. So I just had to channel the boulder into my brain. That's all I needed to think of. My brain just became a boulder, okay? And I was thinking of nothing but boulders, and I got to work on constructing the boulders. Now, I have to say, I do think I went a little bit heavy-handed on the deep slate on this one. I feel like it doesn't need that much, but it is worth mentioning that, of course, this is all going to be covered. You know, this is like the underlayer. This is the structure that goes underneath all of the things that are going to go on top. This is like the mannequin for the build itself, which is strangely poetic. So a lot of the details that you can see in this that might seem a little bit rough around the edges, just remember they are going to be hidden and completely concealed by overgrowth. And that is a stage that I cannot wait for. You know, I love placing bushes, I love placing vines, I cannot wait to cover this thing in greenery. So we've made some pretty serious progress on the base there. I'm really happy with how this is coming together, I'm really getting into a solid flow, and I think that by the end of today, we should be able to have a decent chunk of at least the front of this done. This is about 6 or 7 hours worth of work, so if I put in another 6 or 7 hours, then maybe I'll get to here, and then I have all of tomorrow as well, and then I might just leave the back open. And this time lapse contains a fairly monstrous amount of progress. I decided that I just wanted to sit down, I wanted to get my head down, I didn't want to have to think about being entertaining or recording anything or anything like that, I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to get a huge proportion of this thing completed, and I'm really happy with how far we've come, and I'm also really happy with how this is coming together. As I've mentioned many times now, I was super nervous about getting started on this one. I hadn't really done any planning in a creative mode testing world. It's not like I have a replica of this sitting around. I'm literally just working off of the reference images that I have of Mantaupen Falls and also that image that I keep showing up on the screen, those two. And I'm kind of working between them, and I'm trying to get that idea, those ideas into Minecraft and kind of translate those forms into Minecraft, focusing on that stacked boulder effect and the idea of there just being lots of rocks as opposed to it being one uniform cliff face. And I think it's coming together really well. One thing that I think is worth mentioning is that, of course, this is just stage one of this gigantic terraforming project. Essentially, this is going to be like the backbone of the build. You're not actually going to see a lot of the stuff that I'm constructing here because the majority of it is actually going to be covered. It's going to be completely covered in grass, it's going to be covered in leaves, it's going to be covered in vines, it's going to be just completely greeneried out. You're not actually going to see very much of this, but I really wanted to get like a solid base to work from, so that when we do start covering it in foliage, like it's on a realistic platform. It's being constructed on a very natural, solid backbone that will then make the whole build come together and look more realistic. At least that's my hope. That's my plan, and I have to say, it's going pretty well so far. And I'm going to be honest with you, I cannot believe how well and how fluidly this process is coming together. Do you remember in the previous Hermitcraft episode, it took me about 7 hours to do just the small patch of greenery that you saw at the start of this episode? And I think that's mainly because I was spending a lot of time on the design of it. You know, I was spending a lot of time second guessing what I wanted to do, fiddling with things, experimenting with different placements of the leaf blocks, different density of the leaves as well. And now that I've actually got that all worked out, and I kind of did all of that in the previous Hermitcraft episode, now that I've logged in and I'm just following what I've already done, it is a lot smoother and a lot faster. And one extra piece of efficiency that I think we've gathered up here is, of course, I went round and spent a few hours doing all of the moss as well. I've already done that. That's been done in advance. Whereas in the previous episode, I was doing both of them at the same time. And it's one of those strange things that doing the pair of them just massively slows down both of them. Like, both of them become more inefficient, which means that the entire project takes considerably longer. Whereas when you do both of them in stages, you do one and then you do the other, it seems to speed up both processes, which shortens the entire time massively. So we are absolutely cracking through here. This was a 3-hour time lapse and we have gotten far further than I ever imagined. Let me tell you, alright, if there was an any percent category for leaf placing on gigantic stone armchairs, I would be the world record holder because I am flying. Alright, throughout this time lapse here, I just gradually got faster and faster. It seems like it's one of those things that once you get into the rhythm, you just get such a feel for it, and I just fly on through. I absolutely just fly on through. This time lapse right here, which was the majority of the build, the greenery on the majority of this gigantic structure, this was 2 hours, which is shorter than the time lapse that I did earlier on like a much smaller section of the build. It doesn't even make any sense to me. It doesn't. Alright, I'm completely baffled by this, but I'm incredibly happy, especially because coming back to what I started the episode with, and also what I focused on heavily in the previous episode of Hermitcraft, this has been giving me great stress, and I've been avoiding it, and I've been scared of it because I've been daunted at the scale of the project, and I've been worried about it. It turns out, now that I've actually sat down and done it, I mean, I've managed to crack on through it in 1 day. In 1 day. I was expecting this to be like a 4 or 5 day project. So no wonder I was putting it off. But now that I've actually gone and done it, I've sat down, I've done 1 hard day of Minecrafting, and it's all completed. My base, stage 1, is pretty much completed. Apart from the back. And I very quickly ditched the end crystals and did this the old-fashioned way, which is by stealing a beacon off of Grian and making use of haste 2 to clear out the area. And I'm very glad that I did this because the scale of this project has escalated quite massively. As always, on the Hermitcraft server, you know, I started thinking, as I was constructing it, the idea of the lake being level with the land, it would look cool. You know, the water cascading into the lake, it would look cool, it would be nice. But then I started thinking about my original references for this structure, and the reason that I wanted to go down this route before we started getting the renders involved and everything like that. I was thinking about Mantayupan Falls in the Philippines, and also Kawasan Falls in the Philippines. These two absolutely beautiful waterfalls that I have visited that are stunning. Those were the images that were burnt into my brain, okay? And the one thing that is very typical about these waterfalls is the fact that they are surrounded on all sides by rocks. So you kind of have like a pool of water that's almost in a hole. And I wanted to create that hole effect. So I gradually started digging down, and then I realized that to match up with the scale of the build, I actually had to dig down quite deeply, and before I knew it, we were down at y=35. This is quite a deep hole, but I would say it looks incredibly impressive. Right now it looks a tiny bit ugly. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that it does look a tiny bit ugly. I imagine it's going to look a little bit better once we get some water in there, but probably not that much better. to be frankly honest with you. Compared to the arms of our armchair here, this looks a little bit pants. Now, mining out this rather large area of stone took quite a long time, and that gave me a lot of opportunities to think about a whole bunch of pointless stuff. And one of the pointless things that I got really focused into and was spending a lot of time on was when the best time to transition mining techniques is. Because, you know, we've all had the situation, you've got your efficiency 5 pickaxe, and you need to mine out an area that's decently big. It's not massive, but it's big enough that you at least think, maybe I should get my beacon. And I really want to know where the size is that it becomes more efficient to go and get your beacon, construct it, and then make use of haste 2, compared to not doing that. You've saved the time by not having to set up, but then you have to deal with slower mining. Like, when is that size? Where does that scale happen? And then on the larger end, I started thinking about world eaters. You know, when does it become more efficient to transition from mining with a pickaxe and haste 2 and efficiency 5 to mining with a gigantic flying machine that is dropping TNT? When does the setup time offset with the mining time? There's got to be a way to work it out, but I can't think of it. I think we can all agree that this is a pretty gigantic hole. I mean, this is an enormous amount of space to play with. The issue with building mega things, like my mega base, is that it actually makes rather large things look small.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so from that time lapse, you saw me dig out a whole bunch of area with the new canyons we've made, and we have a bunch of dripstone now placed down. Yeah, with that, let's go ahead and get working on the surrounding red sand area. Honestly, one of the best things about this area is how it looks at twilight and how it looks at night. The orange plays off the orange of the sky, and then it starts to glow at night around the canyon rim. If I can just get up here and show you guys real quick. Yeah, look at that. The canyon rim glowing at night, and the forest is indeed enchanted. There's a bunch of lichen everywhere, so there's like a lot of subtle lighting within the canyon enchanted desert itself. So that's really nice. It's not totally dark here at night. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we got the canyon now dug out in the shape we want. So if we just float on down here, you can see, yeah, somewhat deep canyon. It's about, I think it's like 10 blocks deep where I'm standing, 9 blocks deep here.
up in the treetops. Yes. So we're at the, what is it? The east end of the mountain here. I want to like carve a hole in the mountain right there. And I think I want to make like a nice grand entrance. And this is going to be an area. And that is the entrance to a... He is the terror under the mountain, the crusher of all hopes, the collector of skulls, and he possesses the biggest eye of all the big eyes. This is Fifi the Destroyer!
It really is quite amazing what can be achieved when a couple of crazy hermits come together and decide to spend, well, an entire week grinding out a mega project together.
It is time, everybody. I hope you enjoy the time lapse of the music. It's time to build a base. feel like Batman looking over Gotham right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am so happy with how the start of our mega base has turned out. I love this build. Now, we are far from finished, so don't get the idea that this is final product, because it's not even close. I have to say though,
We might as well chop out all of this stone, dirt, etc. and there's going to be a lot of excavating. So that's what we need to work on while we wait for Corrales to get online. So without further ado, let's hop into a time lapse where we're going to be excavating a heck of a lot of stuff. I got really close there. Let's get going on starting the alleyway. Let's go. So, without further ado, let's get on with the main build of this entire alleyway. 3, 2, 1, let's go! Behold, Grian Bank. This one is directly inspired from the Warner Brothers Studio Tour, and this has 4 degrees of wonk in it. So I am particularly proud of this build. I'm not even sure how I can showcase it particularly well. This section leans to the left, and it's the whole section, by the way, not just one. This leans to the left, this one leans backwards and to the left, and then this one leans quite a lot to the right, so that the top point and the bottom point are actually in line. And overall, that gives the effect that it's slightly leaning left, right, left, right, left, right, just like the set from the movies.